بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. We continue our discussion about Kibr and arrogance. The title of next chapter is Mujibat Kibr, means those factors that lead to having Kibr, those causes of arrogance. And the late Imam Khomeini says there are few factors, and if you want to summarize, you can say lack of understanding and not having great capacity and great capabilities and being not patient are factors that lead to arrogance. If we were really understanding, we had large capacity, we were patient, we had great capabilities, we would not have soon developed arrogance by seeing a little perfection in us. Those things that we think they are perfections in us are either not perfection at all, or even if they are, other people may have them much more than we do. There is no reason to think we are better than others, we are superior to others. Then he says, sometimes people who are in the field of irfan, whether theoretical or even practical irfan, they suffer from ujb, and kibr, of course, which is our discussion. And they think they are better than other people, either other urafa or ordinary people. But he says, if there is true irfan, if it is al-irfanu billah in its true sense, then your heart should become ahadi and ahmadi, in the sense that it would be totally dedicated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it would manifest qualities like qualities of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ahad is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We say Qul huwa Allahu ahad, which refers to maximum level of unity and simplicity, in the sense of having no parts, no partner, nothing. And Ahmad refers to the Prophet. So if you are really progressing in irfan, your heart should become ahadi and ahmadi. But why you have become arrogant? Why, instead of being focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have started seeing yourself and praising yourself and becoming proud of yourself? And why you are underestimating servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This shows that you are not on the right track in irfan. Or sometimes, for example, people who study philosophy and hikmah, they may also think they are better than other people. A true hakim is the one that is empty from arrogance. And then Imam Khomeini quotes a very strong and very moving quotation from the late Mir Damad. Mir Damad was one of our great philosophers whose famous book is Al-Qabasat, and he is known to be a person who was also speaking in a very technical and difficult way. Mir Damad says, and because he was son-in-law of Mullah Sadra, he's titled Mir Damad. Mir Damad says, Hakim, and here we mean by Hakim someone who is master of philosophy. He says Hakim is the one that for him removing his body from his soul is like removing his dress. Whenever he decides, he can leave his body. Imam Khomeini says, if this is the definition of Hakim, so how can you claim to be Hakim or a great Hakim? No matter how much you have studied or taught or written about philosophy, if you have not reached this point that you have ability to remove your body from your soul, you have voluntary death as they call it, then you are not Hakim at all. Or some people, because of learning other sciences other than Irfan or philosophy, like fiqh, like other subjects, they think they are very special and extraordinary. Or sometimes it's even worse, because some people think they are special because of not ilm, whether it be Irfan or hikmah or other ilm, because of external things which are not actually part of them. Ilm at least is somehow part of your mind, if not heart. But for example, if someone is developing Kibr because of money, money is external. Money is not part of you. Or because of position, or having people like servants, or belonging to a well-known tribe or family. These are external things, and no one should, because of these things, develop arrogance. So these are few elements that Imam Khomeini discusses in this chapter that lead to developing Kibr. The next chapter is about how to treat Kibr, how we can remove this illness from ourselves. He says, if you are a person whose spirit is strong, whose capacity is large, who has not yet let hubb dunya to be well rooted and well established in his heart or her heart, someone that attractions of dunya have not preoccupied his or her mind, what we have discussed in the previous chapter would be enough for you. If you really study what we have said so far, especially in the previous chapter, you would understand and you would be determined to stop Kibr, and you would have ability to do so. But if God forbids, you are not that strong in your soul, you are not that large in your capacity, and hubb dunya has penetrated into your heart, so now the solution is to think. Tafakkur. Tafakkur is a great spiritual tool, a great spiritual and intellectual exercise. It's not just intellectual, it's also spiritual. You have to think about yourself, about your condition. For example, Start with thinking about your beginning. You were not existing. You did not exist. You were Adam. You were non-existence. هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا. You were not something to be mentioned or to be remembered. You had no name, no existence. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you by a very gradual process. You were some chemicals and materials, then you became, a sperm and zygote, and then embryo, all these different stages that we have gone through. As Quran says that we should look at our origin. It is true that we come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we have also a physical process. So we have to remember how we used to be, and also what we are going to be. From Adam to become Maniyan Yumna, as the Quran says, to become like, a sperm, and then, to become like a clot of blood, and then finally we become a dead body that would be spoiled very soon. Is there anything that make us proud of ourselves, make us think that we are special? This is the same story for all human beings. If there is anything significant, is in what virtues you manage to develop. If instead of virtues I develop vices and vicious characteristics, I should mourn for myself. I should cry for my tragedies, not to become arrogant. So it's like a person who had no money, and now in addition to that initial poverty has developed lots of debts. What is there to be proud of? So think about your weakness, about being so small. Then he talks about, how small we are in this planet. And then how small is our planet compared to solar system and compared to the galaxy that we are there. And then all the world. We are so little. I don't know if you have had this experience. You must have had this experience. Sometimes you go, for example, on a hill or on a mountain or tower, and seeing people in the night. You see thousands or tens of thousands of lights, which means there are tens of thousands of houses. Every house is inhabited by families, by individuals, by many people. You are just like one drop in that ocean. You are just like one candle in millions of candles. And then this is just one city. Compare it to the whole country. Compare it to the continent, to the whole world. We are very, very little. It's only humility that can grow us. It's only virtuous life that can help us to be a little bit of value and significance. So he says we should follow the example, for example, of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how humble he was. Although the Prophet had very high position and great achievement, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose him as his final messenger and gave him his last message. But he was very humble. The way he treated people was full of humility. He was very unhappy if his companions wanted to stand up when he arrived. Whenever he entered a gathering, he used to sit in a low place. Whenever he was eating food, he was sitting on the ground. At that time, to sit on the ground, on the floor, was something that rich people, people of royal families, or people who were very strong in the finance would not do it. This was servants' behavior. But he used to say, I am a servant, and I eat like servants, and I sit like servants. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is quoted as saying that the Prophet liked to sit on donkey without sandal. It is very difficult, and it was something that rich people, powerful people, people who have followers would not do. He used to sit and eat food with people who were very poor. Whenever he wanted to give a gift, a sadaqah to the poor people, he used to give them with two hands, with both of his hands, not with one hand. Even sometimes, people give something and they don't look at the person. He was showing maximum respect to the person who was receiving sadaqah from him. He used to help his family in their family affairs, like work. He used to sew or repair his own shoes or dress, to make flour with the manual mill. He used to take himself his goods to deliver among the poor people and eat with them. So this is the humility of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So how can then we ever become arrogant? If Rasulullah was so humble, who are we to become arrogant? Imam Khomeini also talks about ulama, our maraja, our ulama who followed the example of Prophet. For example, he mentions his own teacher. One of his teachers, in addition to Ayatollah Sha'abadi that we mentioned before for Akhlaq and Irfan, his teacher, especially in fiqh and usul, one of the teachers, main teachers of Imam Khomeini, was Sheikh Abdul Karim al-Ha'iri al-Yazdi, the one who re-established Hawzay al-Miyah of Qom. Sheikh Abdul Karim al-Ha'iri al-Yazdi. And he had comprehensive leadership and marja'iyah for the Shia community for 15 years, from 1340 to 1355 after Hijrah. he says, although he had such high position and he was perhaps the only considerable marja', but he was so humble. He used to eat with his servant. He used to sit on the ground. Even with the most junior students, he used to make jokes and, laugh with them. And he says, towards the end of his life, when he was ill, after Maghrib, he used to go out with putting a little, dress as little imama on his head, without very official dress. He used to go outside and walk, and people loved him so much that this humility didn't, bring his level down, actually added to his dignity and honor in the eyes of people. He says, we have seen many ulama who have been going to the market, shopping themselves, bringing water to their home, because in the past, they didn't have, pipeline for water, so they used to bring water and put in a place that they stored water. We call it abanbar. Sometimes in the basement, very down, they had places for keeping water. So this is the way we have to be. Unfortunately, sometimes, shaitan and our nafs ammara deceive us. And not only by making us arrogant, but sometimes by making us pretend that we are humble. For example, some people want to sit always in the best place in the majlis, on the top. But there are also people who sit not on the top, they sit next to the door, or, in a place which is not very good, but they show people, look, I am sitting here. I am not that kind of people who goes and sits on the top of the majlis. So they pretend they are humble. This is also very bad. So we have to know that thanks to God, our problems of nafs are repairable. He says, if you really struggle and have sincere intention, you can, solve the problem. تمام صفات نفسانیه قابل اصلاح است. All psychic qualities can be fixed. So no one should be dispersed. But in the beginning, it has some kind of pain. It needs some labor. Zahmat. The kind of, you have to take trouble. You have to work. But little by little, it becomes easier. And tafakkur is the key here. We have to wake up. The first step is awakeness. You have to become awake and get rid of heedlessness. Then he says that, ای عزیز همت کن و پرده جهل و نادانی را پاره کن. My dear, decide to do something. Remove the curtain of ignorance and save yourself. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam used to call with loud voice in masjid, to the extent that neighbors of masjid were hearing his call. He used to say, تجهزوا رحمكم الله فقد نودي فيكم بالرحيل. Get ready. Be prepared. May Allah's mercy be upon you. Because the call for departure has already been made. You have to depart from this dunya. Maybe you don't hear the call, but it has already been made. So be ready for your departure. You have to get rid of anything which is not sincere. And you have to get rid of these impurities with the fire of tawbah, repentance, and remorse. So this is the way he tries to advise us, preach us, and encourage us to make a big decision to change. And alhamdulillah, he says everything about our psychic qualities can be fixed and repaired. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us overcome all the pressures which are caused in us by Satan and by our own nafsa ammara, so that we can just develop virtues and be free from vicious qualities and actions, inshallah. Thank you very much. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.